Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Zaylee. In today's video, I'm going to teach you guys how to apply base products. Now I'm focusing this tutorial mostly on beginners. So if there's anybody out there learning who wants to know kind of how to apply base products, then this is going to be the perfect tutorial for you. So without further ado guys, let's just jump straight in. Now, generally the first step when applying base products is to prime. Now, generally we prime for 3 different reasons: to combat oil, to help hide our pores, or to put hydration back into our skin. Now, I don't have oily skin, so I'm either more hydration or for pore control. My favorite product for hydrating my skin would be the Too Faced Hangover RX Coconut Face Primer. This one is amazing. And if I want to fill in my pores, if I feel like they're looking a little bit enlarged, I go in with the Tarte Clean Slate Timeless Smoothing Primer. Today I'm feeling a little bit more dry, so I'm just going to pump a couple of squirts of this guy onto my hand, work that in, warming the product up in between my fingers, and then just applying it straight to my face. Generally, I always apply my primer with my fingers, just making sure that your hands are nice and clean before you go touching your face. Okay, and I'll just give that a second to set in, and then we'll move on to foundation. Now, when it comes to foundation, of course, picking a shade that works best for you is going to be the first start. You know, it just depends on what your skin type is to the type of foundation that you're going to go for. And then with tools, you've generally got your 2 options. You've got something like a brush. This is quite a dense brush. I find this is really great for packing on foundation because the brush is so dense, it doesn't soak into the brush. It allows you to buff it in beautifully. That's the Morphe M439. Or your other option is, of course, a beauty sponge or a beauty blender, which this one is here. I, for the most part, generally always apply my foundation with a beauty blender. I just like the way that it applies, the way it looks on my skin. I just find sometimes with brushes, you can kind of see those streak marks, so you end up going back with the sponge anyway. And I think that a beauty blender is pretty, you know, anyone can use this. You don't, whether you're just wearing makeup for the first time or you're a pro, you won't mess it up with a beauty blender. So the foundation that I'm going to go in today is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. This one is really beautiful, guys. And if you live in the States or overseas, I believe this is like $5.99 or something. So it's super cheap. So I'm just going to shake that up. Now, when it comes to applying foundation, of course, you can pop it on the back of your hand. You can apply it straight to your face. Be wary though of with applying straight to your face that if you do have like a lot of acne and things like that, you may want to not apply directly to your face so that you're not spreading bacteria. You can, if you've got like a little glass palette, you can pop it on, you can do it that way. Today, I'm just gonna go straight in on the face. This is what the wand looks like on this foundation. And I'm just going to just do some stripes kind of all over my face. Coverage is personal preference, guys. So if you like that really full coverage look, then obviously you can either go in with more product or you can choose a product that is super full coverage. Or if you prefer a lighter coverage, you can either choose a foundation that generally is more sheer, or you can sheer your products out. So my sponge is already damp, and what I'm going to do is just kind of bounce this into the skin. So that kind of tapping motion, as you can see. Now, when it comes to applying foundation, I mean, it's pretty easy, guys, but the things to remember are like getting up and around your ears, because when you turn to the side, you want to make sure that you're getting all these areas. Sometimes I find it can be a little hard to apply in around the nose, especially with a sponge because it is so big. So it's really just getting the areas that are easy to miss. And of course, always blending down the neck. And this foundation is pretty full coverage, as you can see. So I'm only going to go in with the 1 layer. And I'm still just same thing, just bouncing this all around and just blending it out and just distributing that foundation where I want it to go. Another little tip too is to really work it into your hairline, so that way if you are wearing your hair back, you don't kind of have that obvious distinction of your foundation and then no foundation, where your hairline starts to start. So just, yeah, pushing that product kind of into your hairline will just make everything blend and just look more put together. I really don't know why, guys, but on camera I look like a ghost. I swear this foundation isn't this light in person. I have no idea why, oh my gosh, why it looks like this. It's kind of a bad example for a for a tutorial, isn't it? I don't know, my camera's just picking this product up really, really strange, but that's all right. By the time we finish with all of our other base products, it'll all be looking all put together. Just remember to take that color right down the neck. So that's how you should be looking once you have your foundation on, guys. So the sponge, yeah, definitely, I think if I was to recommend any tool for a beginner, it would definitely be a beauty blender or any type of beauty sponge. I just think they're foolproof. You really can't go wrong with one of these. They just make everything look so beautiful, so smooth. You really can't mess it up. So once you've got your foundation on, the next step is concealer. I've got two different colored concealers here to show you guys. Now concealer is personal preference. Some people like that really, really bright highlighted under eye look. I know that was pretty popular a few years ago. These days I tend to stick more to something that's reasonably similar to my foundation shade. When you are picking concealer, you generally want something that's 1 to 2 shades lighter than your foundation. Unless you want that super, super highlighted under eye look, then maybe you could go 3 or so shades lighter. So I have here the Tarte Shape Tape Foundation. I hope this is going to pick up on camera for you guys. You can see this shade here. This is light and this is fair neutral. There's a fairly big difference in the colors. I might swatch them side by side so you can see. If you wanted the really, really highlighted under eye look, definitely I would go in with fair neutral. But I've been stepping away from that lately and I've just been going in with light. So these are the colors right here. As you can see, this one here is light and this one here is fair neutral. There's a pretty big difference between the two. So I'm going to go in with light today. Now, any of you guys who have probably watched a whole heap of tutorials, a lot of people can, they apply their concealer very differently. And honestly, guys, when I was first starting out, I wasn't doing all those crazy amounts. I think that as a beginner, you want to ease your way into it. So I know you can do the whole triangle under eye look. You can just do a light sweep. And also, I suppose, depends on what type of concealer that you have. This one here, the Tarte Shape Tape, is super full coverage. So a little goes a long way. So I'm just simply, guys, just going to do a couple of dots under each eye. And that will be plenty. Now, another thing that you can do with concealer is if you have pimples, you need a little bit more coverage. You can, I've got a little pimple here. You can just pop a little bit of concealer onto those areas as well to help if your foundation hasn't covered things enough. And then once again, you can go back in with your sponge and blend it out. You don't need to do, all those crazy lines or anything, you don't need to go too overboard with your concealer, especially when you're starting out. Honestly, I've never used a brush for my under eye concealer. I always use a sponge. I just think that it is the best product to use for blending out your under eye concealer. And then I'll just hit that pimple as well, just to help hide that in a little more. And I'm kind of just bringing it up and connecting it kind of in with my hairline so that it doesn't just kind of stop where my eye stops. And then you can kind of bring it down a little more if you want to bring it down. Sometimes I might even hit slightly over my nose. Okay guys, so that's how we're looking with our foundation and our concealer on. So the next step is to set. Now you don't have to set your foundation. Once again, it's personal preference and it also depends on what type of skin type you have. I know a lot of people who have dry skin can get away with not setting their foundation. Generally, I find people who have oily skin definitely do. I just personally like to set my face because I feel like it helps with the longevity of my foundation. If I don't set my face, I feel like even with a really great foundation, it just tends to break apart or it just doesn't hold as well as if I set it. So if I wasn't to set, I could get maybe 5 hours before it starts to deteriorate. Where if I do set, honestly guys, I've worn my makeup sometimes for 12 hours. Not necessarily with these products, but with setting my face, I can get that amount of time out of it. Not always, but I have worn my makeup once before for 12 hours solid, and that was with setting it, and I believe that setting it with the powder was the thing that made it stay. Now the next thing when it comes to setting, now this is personal preference again. I used to, when I first was a beginner, only used to set my foundation with just my powder for everywhere. As time's gone on, I personally prefer to set my under eye with a powder that is designed specifically for the under eye. I don't know if it's just because I have delicate skin underneath my under eye, but I just feel like when I use powders under my eyes that are more face powders and not designed specifically for the under eye area, it just kind of creases quickly on me. It just sits funny, and sometimes it looks weird. So personally, for me, I like to go in with a powder designed specifically for the under eye. So today I have the Becca Under Eye Brightening Setting Powder. Now the difference between a powder that's designed specifically for the under eye compared to just a generic or normal face powder is generally powders like this are much more finely milled. So yeah, just the way that the texture of that powder is just more fine, and it's actually designed specifically for that area. I like it for me. You don't have to do this step, guys. Honestly, when I was a beginner, like I said, I just went in with one powder all over. And you know what? For the purpose of today's tutorial, I'm going to do that for you guys. I'm going to go in just with a normal face powder rather than with two powders, because I just want to keep it simple. Like I said, I'm dedicating this video to people who are really just learning, who are figuring out how to do makeup. So I'm going to go in with my favorite powder to set my face is the MAC Mineralize Skinfinish in Light. I just like the way this powder looks. It's lightweight. It doesn't really have a lot of coverage to it, which I generally don't use face powders that have a lot of coverage. If you want more coverage, you can definitely go for a powder that puts in even more coverage. I just like the way this sits. I like the way that it looks on the skin. It's a beautiful, beautiful powder. Now the only thing that I'm going to do different is I'm going to use two different brushes. I'm going to use a brush that's smaller so I can really target in the under eye, and then I'll use a different brush for my whole face. So before I go in and set under my eye, I'm just going to once again just tap out any little creases that may have occurred, and I've got here my Morphe E48 brush. I'm just going to dip that into the powder. You can tell how much I love this. I'm hitting pan, and I'm just going to set under the eye. Now you could use this brush as well to set your face. It'll just take a little longer because it's smaller, but I like this because I can get right in under my eye, because the brush that I'm about to go in with next is much larger, and it's just, yeah, not really made to fit in those areas. And I've left it on my vanity. Bear with me one sec, guys. Sorry, guys. Okay, so to set my face, I have my Zoeva 106 powder brush. So if this is a large fluffy brush, these generally are the best type of brushes to set your face with. You can also actually use like the bottom of your sponge as well. You don't need all these tools, guys. You can use the bottom of your sponge, dip it into your powder, and then apply that onto your face. Or of course, you can do this method as well. So I'm just swirling my brush in there, and I'm just kind of patting and pressing that powder into my skin. Sorry if you guys can hear my husband talking in the background. I can hear him on the phone. I hope that that's not picking up on camera for you guys. Okay, so now our face is set, and we're looking pretty flat at the moment. So the next thing to do is to go in with bronzer. Now, once again, personal preference, not everybody likes to wear bronzers. Sometimes I simply just do blush, but I do find that for a day-to-day basis, I generally do like to wear bronzer. Bronzer is great because, you know, we've got like just a blank canvas right now. So going with a bronzer, we can create shadows and put a little bit more dimension back into the face. If you've got like a really big forehead, or you know, you've got a bit of a crooked nose, or you don't really have high cheekbones, bronzer's great because you can create shadows and you can just really make your face structure look completely different. So don't be afraid. It takes time, but you will get there, guys. But let's just stick with the basics. So generally on a day-to-day, I hit my temples and I go underneath my cheekbones. Now you can bronze underneath your jawline if you would like to sharpen that up. If you've got a crooked nose, you can bronzer and contour the nose area. There's so much that you can do with bronzer, but like I said, I just want to keep it basic for you guys. Now the bronzer that I've chosen today is the Physicians Formula butter bronzer. Now this smells like coconuts. If you get a chance, you should smell this, guys. It's so good. Now the brush that I'm going to use today is the Morphe M501. So this one is big, it's fluffy, but it's great because it's kind of like tapers in towards the center. You can pinch this brush, you can really kind of morph it to how you like it. Now the thing that I like about this bronzer, not only is it super affordable, but it's buildable. And when you're starting out, that's what you want to go for, guys. You want a buildable bronzer. You don't want anything that's too pigmented, because it's so much easier to build and keep applying product than what it is to take it away. It's really hard once you've put on heaps of product to try to take that back off. Where at least with something that is more of a sheer formula, you can just keep building and building and building to the intensity that you like. So first things first, I'm just going to swirl my brush in there and tap off any excess. And first things first, I'm going to hit my temples. So I'm just going to pull my hair back, and I'm just going to hit, just this kind of area here, just a little above the temple, into the temple, and kind of swooping that down. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. You can just see already how much more color that's brought back into these areas. Now when it comes to bronzing the cheekbones, you can do the traditional method of sucking your cheek, like your lips in to make your cheeks stick out. Or you can just feel, like I can feel, okay, here's my cheekbone, this is the highest point of my cheekbone, and you can kind of feel that hollow underneath. So that's kind of where you want to put your bronzer, is in that hollow underneath the cheekbone. So I'm just going to dip back in once more, tap off any excess, and I'm even going to slightly pinch the brush just so I can control where I want it to go. And I'm going in under that hollow and making sure I'm taking it right back into the hairline as well. And you can see the difference already to this side, to this side. Everything's just looking more put together. There's a little bit more dimension in my face. I'm not looking so much like a pancake like I am on this side. So dipping in again, tapping off, pinching that brush, and just applying in that hollow underneath. And the other thing that's great about this brush is because it's so fluffy, you can really kind of blend and move that product around to where you'd like it. And that's how we're looking, guys. So that is so far. So the next step now is to apply some blush. Blush, once again, I mean, makeup is personal preference. So sorry, I'm going to sound so repetitive by saying personal preference, but the colors that you choose to use are obviously going to be all personal preference. For me, I mean, I like coral blushes, I like peachy blushes, I like purple blushes, I like pinky blushes. I really like all different blushes and all different spectrums. Some people hate pinky blushes, some people only wear peachy, some people hate peachy. So really just pick something that you think works for you. For me, I like the pink blushes because I feel like with my blue eyes, it just makes, I don't know, it just kind of like looks all cohesive and it suits my skin tone, it makes my eyes pop. I like pinky blushes. And I want to show you guys this palette here. This is the Benefit Cheekathon. I think this was like about 52 bucks when I picked it up. And what's great about this is you get so many blushes in here, and you even get a bronzer. This is the Hoola bronzer. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard of this bronzer before. It's pretty iconic. It's been around for a long time. They've got Hoola Light now, so if you're fairy, you've got something for lighter tones. But you've got 4 blushes in here, guys. You've got Dandelion, Brocateur, Dallas, and Coralista. So this literally... Nothing broke, it's okay. Whew. I might just hold my finger on there. I didn't realize that wasn't glued in. Yeah, so you kind of got something for everyone. You've got pink, you've got more nude, you've got coral. This one here has a little bit of shimmer, so if you don't want something that's so matte, you've got something with a bit of sheen. I'm gonna go in with Dandelion, and I'm gonna pick that one up on my, this is the Sigma 140 brush. This is by far my favorite blush brush. I have been using this for about 4, maybe 5 years. I love this. I love the angle on it. It's out of all the blush brushes that I own, this one is definitely my favorite. Now you don't need to have this brush particularly, but if you can find one that's similar shape to this, I find it's really good. I like the way that it distributes the product. And kind of same thing again with your blushes. You want a blush that is not so pigmented, and you can build the color up to the intensity that you like. Blush is probably the hardest thing to take away, especially if you've got something really, really pigmented. So just be mindful of that when you are applying blush. You want a blush that's more sheer and you can build it up to the color that you'd like. So I'm just picking up my brush and I'm gonna pop that one here into Dandelion. I'm just swirling that around. And I like these pan sizes too because they're big enough that you can fit your brush in. You can see I've got that product there on the brush. I'm tapping that off. Now, the way you apply your blush, is personal preference. Some people like to smile and go straight to the apples of the cheeks. Some people prefer to apply their blush a bit higher. It kind of depends on your face structure or just personally the type of look that you want to go for. I generally like to smile, apply it to the apples of my cheeks, swirling that around, and then bringing that product back. And you can see that's pretty sheer. You can't really see a lot of color right now. So I'm going in again, tapping off. I'm doing that same thing, smiling, putting that product mostly on the very apples of my cheeks and bringing it back. And I love blush, guys. I can't go a day without blush. I just think that it just puts so much color back into the face. It's so youthful. Yeah, I'm definitely a big blush girl. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So I've just built that up to the intensity that I like. And this is how we're looking. So really now we're just down to the final step, guys, which is highlighter. Now some people like to wear highlighter, some people don't. I find, you know, there's so many different finishes of highlighter as well. You've got that full-on wham bam, like in your face highlight, down to your most subtle type of sheen highlights, like the hourglass ones. They're really, really pretty. I wanted to show you guys today the Anastasia Beverly Hills Glow Kit. This is in Gleam. This one probably is sold out. I know some of them are limited edition, but there are so many of the glow kits that you can buy in all different shades. Once again, just because you get 4 of them in here, I find like these palettes are great. I use this all the time and I still haven't hit pan. You get so much product and the price that you pay for 4 I think is definitely worth it. Oh my gosh, I don't know where I'm at today. I even forgot my highlighting brush. 1 second, sorry guys. So this is my favorite highlighting brush. This is the Morphe M501. Unfortunately, this one's starting to shed a bit on me now. I have had it for a little while though. It still works great, but I find every time I wash it, it sheds quite a bit. So I'm going to mix 2 colors together. I'm going to mix together Crush Pearl, and I'm going to mix in a bit of Hard Candy as well. When I used to when I used to highlight my face, I'd bring that highlight kind of right down to the very, kind of like where the apple of my cheek starts and swoop it back. Now that I'm getting a little bit older, I don't really like to highlight that way. I like to focus my highlight more kind of about 1/3 of the way across and then swoop it back. So I'm just going to mix together those 2 colors, tap off any excess, and I'm just going to focus this one more towards the back of my cheekbone and not so much in the front area. And then you can build up again to the intensity that you like. That's why it's always great, guys, to pick products that are buildable rather than too pigmented. Unless you're a pro, of course, then you could probably handle products that are super pigmented. But I just like products that you can build up on a lot easier than to not make mistakes. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. So that's how the highlight's looking, guys. I just feel like highlight pulls everything together. Occasionally I might do my makeup without wearing highlighter, but for the day-to-day, I generally wear it every day. Sometimes too, I also like to highlight my Cupid's bow. I'm not really big on highlighting my nose just because I don't really like my nose. It's pretty crooked. There's heaps of things I'd love to change about my nose, so I don't really like to draw emphasis towards my nose. If you have a cute nose, of course, highlighting it looks great, but you don't want to add a highlight to areas that you're trying to not show attention to. So I do like to highlight though above the tops of my brow bones, and then mostly my cheeks and my cupid's bow, but you definitely don't want to put highlighter anywhere that you don't want to draw attention to. So that's pretty much it, guys. This is base products done. Now you can of course go in with a setting spray. I generally always like to set my foundation, set my base products. I just feel like not only does it help with the longevity, but it helps set all those powders down, which makes your products appear more skin-like. So I'm going to set my face. Once again, I left it on my vanity. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm a mess today. And then I'm going to finish off the rest of my makeup and come back and show you guys the final look. So I'll be back in one moment. Hey guys, so I'm back. So I went in with the Glam Glowsetter spray to settle down all those powders. And then I just went in with this Smashbox liquid lipstick. Sorry, I got this as a sample, so I don't actually know the name of this shade, but you can see what it looks like. It's really pretty. Yeah, so that's the finished look, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely want to do more how-to tutorials for you guys. I really want to, for a while anyway, focus my tutorials for people who are learning. So please let me know what you think of this video down below. Please subscribe to my channel. It means so much to me, guys. I'm loving watching my subscriber count go up. I really want to interact with you more, so please leave me some comments down below. Let me know what type of tutorials you want to see, if there's some other type of how-tos. Yeah, just let me know down below and I'll be happy to film those for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!